Greetings, Malifaux fans. This is Crazy Carl from the Weird Forums, back with yet another Malifaux video battle reports. This is a 35 Soulstone scrap played against my good buddy Chris. I was playing the good Dr. McMourning, and he decided to play the Viktorias. He's a big Outcast player, in so much as he loves to play Leviticus, but he doesn't really play Summer, because I don't think he has it, and doesn't play the Vix very often. I don't think he plays Hamlin, but he's trying out the Vix. I haven't played McMourning in a while, so I was hoping it would be a pretty good game. He brought along the Vix. On the same board that I played with Pat the other day. This game was played, I think, the day after I played Pat. I just kind of rotated the board, and it actually it felt a little different, which I liked. That was good. Pat and I had a very good game on it, so I was hoping that Chris and I would do the same. Chris brought along the Vix, which you're going to see shortly. He spread them out, one on each side of the board. They're supported by Von Schill, a pair of Ronins, a Comet Gunslinger, and then he also had the Student of Conflict. So the Vix with 8 Soulstones they're pretty terrifying, and I just love the Ronin. I love Ronins in a Vix crew. The Ronins are so good. Hard to kill. You get seppuku to get extra Soulstones back. They have the mobile ability to push around with their Daisho strikes. Just so good, so good. One thing I didn't like is that I would have liked to see Chris have the Student Conflict a little more centered, and then he could kind of still cover a lot of board area, but also have the Vix able to companion with each other. And that's where you can do the really deadly stuff with them. I brought along McMourning, a pair of zombie chihuahua, pair of rotten canine remains. Wow, I haven't played Malifaux in a while. A zombie chihuahua, a rotten bell, only one. I usually bring 2, but I decided to try 1 this time. A convict gunslinger as well, which was played by Misdemeanor, and Von Schill. And then off the table you have Bête Noire. So, oh, I can't wait for his avatar, though. It's going to be so much fun. But anyway, yeah, it was pretty funny. We both had Von Schill. I decided to take my crutch this game because I haven't played with Von Schill in a while. He's really a lot of fun to play with because he just zips around and shoots stuff. Chris, we actually both, flipped for individual strategies and flipped shared slaughter. We just ended up getting slaughter at the same time. So he had Assassinate, which was hidden. I'm sorry, I had Assassinate on Von Schill, which is hidden. And I also had that one's a keeper. So Chris had Thwart hidden and First Blood. So speaking of First Blood, first turn was pretty uneventful for the most part. We both just kind of moved up our crews, trying to keep them out of range of Von Schill's, plural, because we both need to watch out for Von Schill's. However, Chris moved up his Student of Conflict a little bit too far. Von Schill was able to come up, shoot it. Bête Noire was able to pop out and force a ton of Soulstones out of Chris to keep from getting paralyzed. But it also meant that she was going to just die next turn. So not so great for me, but it worked out pretty well. I mean, I was up 3 Soulstones in a model, and I denied his First Blood, so pretty strong turn for me. You can see the Ronins moving up with the Combat Gunslinger to back them up. Here you see turn 2. The board is developed a little bit more. I moved up my dogs behind a forest with Von Schill there. The idea behind that was I could chop up the dogs to get body parts and then summon stuff on the other side of the forest if I needed to, or summon things to support McMourning, or just to have a lot of mobility in general. So it was going to be pretty strong for me. Here you can see is where the Skata hit the fan. The Vix ended up swapping. I think Chris had the Gun Vic swap with the Sword Vic. The Sword Vic charged in to kill off, I believe, the Rotten Bell, but wasn't able to do it. So the next turn, I summoned up a Flesh Construct to try and put on some hurt, but didn't really think about the repercussions of that. A Sword Vic with Whirlwind can do a lot of damage, which she did. She ended up not killing either of them, which worked out well for me, but it was not very good. What also happened there is Chris won initiative and was able to kill off Bête Noire with the Sword Vic. Although I don't really agree with what he did. He cast the spell to get +2 damage, just to make sure he killed it in 1 activation, which I think was fine, but I think he'd have been better off just making 2 attacks, because he's got Soulstone and all that jazz. I guess it was a preventative measure, but whatever. It ended up being, the end result was Bête Noire died, and it took 2 activations to do it, so I guess that worked out fine for me. Here you can see his Von Schill facing down my Convict Gunslinger, which I actually used the jump ability. It's a 2 action where you can move up to half your movement, and you just jump. So I jumped across a little chasm to get to the front of that cliff to put her in a good sniping position. Here you can see the end of turn 3 is where things got really crazy. There were a lot of body parts left over from that Flesh Construct, so I had the Canine Remains. I want to call them Chihuahuas for some reason. Canine Remains ran over, picked them up, sent them back to McMourning, and McMourning was able to, between that and other body parts, summon up a what's that thing called? Rogue Necromancy, which ended up doing Jack and Squat to the Sword Vic. So worked out great, giving her a ton of stuff to Whirlwind on next turn. I was not super pleased with that. This shot did please me a little bit. We had Von Schill. Chris's Von Schill was on the low ground. His Convict Gunslinger was on the high ground, facing off against my Von Schill and my Convict Gunslinger. As it was, they ended up shooting at each other a lot and not doing a whole heck of a lot. I think I burned Soulstones to make sure I did extra damage to Chris's Convict Gunslinger, and he ended up losing his, and then Von Schill just kind of flew away. It is worth noting that Chris had some terrible card flips when he didn't need them, or when he needed them, and then had good card flips at the times where he didn't need them. So things like the Convict Gunslinger getting off extra trigger happies and stuff like that, and just wasn't hitting as many masks he'd like to hit for Whirlwinds. So here you see the end of the game. You wouldn't think so, but it was very fast-paced. We ended on turn 4. Von Schill sitting over on the side there. And the game ended up being called there because at this point Chris was down his Vix, dying to a variety of attacks and being dissected, getting me the last 3 body parts on his Sword Vic for my That One's a Keeper. After a couple Drained Souls, some shenanigans there, it was really kind of crazy. I got 4 points for the slaughter. We assumed that I would be able to chase down his Von Schill because I had a ton of models left over. I had really only lost a Rotten Bell and I think the dogs. And Chris was just down everything. He ended up not getting points for his Thwart because he wasn't able to keep me from getting That's a Keeper. He ended up not getting anything for First Blood because he lost the Student Conflict, and the slaughter was shared. So, well, it was a fun game. It was just kind of one-sided. Chris hasn't had a ton of experience playing the Vix. I think this is like his 4th game total with them, and I've played McMourning for quite a few months now. So, but regardless, it was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed at least the pictures of the game. I thought there were some pretty cool shots in there. Hopefully that I'll be able to play some more and get some more videos up soon. And in the meantime, enjoy what I've got up there, and I'll see you guys next time.